What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the 64th episode of The Kingdom. We got a special guest tonight, Patrick Law from the Minnedosa Golf Country Club. While we got you here quickly, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, our YouTube channel, just do it quickly. It makes a huge difference to us, and we really appreciate it. So with that, drums, let's do her. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Kingdom. As always, my name is Drums, and I am joined by the brothers behind King Golf, Regan and Joran Headley, as well as a special guest, Patty Law from Dosa National, joins us tonight. We'll quickly see what the boys been up to. We'll go up north as we usually do to Reg. What's going on, fella? How you doing? You look a little in pain.
No, I'm okay. I got it, like you're saying, I got a tooth pulled yesterday. First tooth pulled since I was probably 13. At that time, I think it took about 45 minutes to pull the tooth alone. This guy that I went to yesterday at a surgical clinic in Brandon had the tooth pulled, like 5 pieces of tooth pulled, a bone graft put in, a membrane put over the bone graft, and stitched back together in probably under 15 minutes.
What?
The guy was panting when he was doing it because he was working so hard doing it. It was insane.
What was wrong with your tooth?
I had a root canal done and they missed a root when they did it. So I had a fractured root for like the last 5 years. So I finally decided to do something about it. And this is the first step. So I have to get an implant put in. So that's why they had to put the bone graft down. But
Jesus.
So I got some Tramosats yesterday. So I took those, and I've had a few today, and I elected to only take one so I could be clear and concise. So I'm sacrificing a bit of pain to be able to speak on here. But yeah, the pain after is pretty wild too. I had to assist the Tramosats with something else. I'm not sure what it was, but
heroin.
I just had to. It wasn't heroin, but no, things are good up here other than that though.
So do you have your wisdom teeth still?
Yeah.
Haven't got those popped out?
No. But like I just, like, the last tooth that I got pulled, it was like a crazy amount of pressure. Like I could feel the pressure. Like this one, he froze me and then came in like 10 minutes later, and it was just like, he said, you're gonna hear a big crack, and then he cracked off the crown and then like just snapped it out, and it was like probably this long. Like it was, I don't know, I wish I could see some video of it. It was actually super intense for like probably 12 minutes, and everything was just done.
When I got my wisdom out, like kind of the same thing, but I didn't get frozen. He just basically got in there and just popped the bitches out.
What?
Like zero pain.
How?
I don't know, but they fucked up. Like I've got a nerve in my cheek that's all screwed up. So like I don't have feeling in half my cheek. But yeah, it's fun.
I'm gonna find that spot this summer.
Dora, what's going on over there?
Reggie, I'm proud of you, buddy. You look good. You sound pretty good too. So we're happy to have you on here tonight, and Patty as well. I'm doing pretty well. I had a big supper, I guess, some lasagna, and now I'm having a Guinness. So I'm pretty heavy, but we got a good show tonight, so I'm pretty excited for it. And I got trimmed my beard and got a haircut today, so I'm a little bit lighter too. I've kind of balanced out, but not much to say. We were talking about, Rigo usually talks about the weather when he doesn't have any teeth missing, and it was it's about +1, I think it got to today, which is absolutely unheard of in Manitoba in mid-December. So I haven't looked at the long-term forecast, but maybe we'll be golfing on Christmas Day. Could you imagine? Has that ever happened?
No.
Yeah.
No. Has it?
Yeah, it has. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, we've been alive?
Yeah. Maybe not. Yeah, I think it was early 2000s in Dauphin, or like 1995 or something like that. It was a green Christmas, and they golfed on Christmas.
Keep your fingers and toes crossed, but that's enough for me. So
they golfed Christmas Eve, and then it snowed like crazy Christmas Day.
Oh, we were alive for that, no?
I think so.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Anyway, send her to Patty.
Send her to Patty. Patrick Law, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, fellas. How are you doing?
Good, buddy.
Appreciate you having me on.
Back at it. So we brought Patty on. He's going to be our resident expert in all things pro golf related. But first, we want to see how the end of the year shaped up for you guys at Minnedosa.
Yeah, I think pretty much like everybody in the golf world, 2021 was interesting again, but overall pretty busy and fairly successful. Always battling Mother Nature. This year, no floods, but this year we got no water. So we were dealing with some drought conditions basically all year. Finally got some nice timely rains near the end of the year and finished up with record-setting Septembers and October. It was like over double what we usually do because the weather was phenomenal. And yeah, after we got through, that sketchy start with restrictions and household only and stuff like that,
yeah.
we made the most of that as best we could. I think we've talked about that before. And yeah, we started to do some major projects at the end of the year too. We expanded our irrigation holding cell and isolated ourselves from the river and dug a well to supply our irrigation. So hopefully we know that will alleviate the issues that we've had with dry, burnt out fairways and just kind of rationing water on the greens and tees like we've had to do basically the last 5 years with the river going down so low year over year. It's just not sustainable. So that was a pretty major project. And as of about a month ago, I think all of our flood damage repairs are finally done from 2022. So
Perfect
all
timing.
that infrastructure is back in place and just a little bit of stuff to do in the spring with the grass. Hopefully it's a gentle winter to us and for everybody. And we'll have another great 2022 as we slowly get out of the gong show that the last 2 years has kind of been.
So Patty, I guess we can write off 2020 as a weird that in history. I'm sure that'll be just erased from like data keeping and comparisons and stuff like that. But what was 2021 like compared to 2019 in terms of memberships and overall green fees, I guess, for the year?
Yeah, so we went over our year-end financials at the end of October there, and when you compare it to 2020, it looks like we're just geniuses and made all kinds, but we're also closed to 9 holes for basically the whole summer in 2020. But compared to 2019, blanket statement, pretty much everything was 20 to 25% up from 2019. And 2019 was one of our banner years. Like it was I think it was our best on record as far as my records go back, which isn't super long, but in the last decade, 2019 was really good to us, and 2021 blew it out of the water golf course wise. The restaurant was tough just because we basically couldn't open it until July, and then people are kind of creatures of habit. They think that it might still be closed, and it takes a little bit to get them back into it. So
Right.
that notwithstanding, everything was really good. And even by the end of the year, our restaurant came back up to par. So it was really good if you look at it from a numbers standpoint and from the amount of people playing golf and the demographic that it is. It's leaves us pretty excited for what's to come and how we can keep growing that and keep maintaining that.
Love it. That's awesome to hear. That's kind of what I had figured, but you never really know for sure unless you have straight from the horse's mouth. So tonight, I guess why we have Patty on here, for a couple of reasons. Drums mentioned his expertise in the pro golf world. Patty also sent us a link to No Laying Ups podcast from, I don't even know when it was, Patty. It was a while ago.
I think it's about a month ago now. I was a little
Okay.
late to the party on it, and then once I started listening, was pretty hooked. Hence the message to you guys.
Yeah, so he sent it over, and we've kind of been talking about it. I think for the most part, we've been talking about the Saudis, though. But the whole episode is about 2.5 hours long, and he said it might put us to sleep. But as guys who love golf, it was a little bit dry at some points, and it's just a lot of information to take in and process. But the main focus on it was they had the Premier Golf League, or the founder of the Premier Golf League, on there for a long chat about kind of the history of what they've done so far, what their plans are going forward. And he compares it to the F1 of golf. So we're going to get to that a little bit later in the show. We also have Patty on here because as part of our King card, Patty and Minnedosa donated some free passes to do a contest and giveaway on our Instagram page. And so we're going to do the live draw for that. Drums, you can get that ready. We had 288 total entrants. Now there's five packs in there as well. So it's not 288 unique, but that's the total of entries. So it's pretty good. 288, I would say that's by far our biggest in recent history anyway. So Drums, should we go live on the screen or should we just draw it?
We haven't even introduced Drums yet, but
I just drew it.
that's all good, I guess.
Skip me.
Sorry, Drums. I just wanted to get Patty's what the heck's Patty doing on here and talk about the show.
I'm alive.
So let's do this. Enable me, Drums. Enable my screen share so we can see.
For what?
For the draw.
Well, I just drew the number.
I know, but so people know that we're legit.
That podcast, by the way, that No Laying Up one supersedes the longest podcast I've ever listened to in person, not in a vehicle, by 2 hours and probably 15 minutes. So
Yeah, I had to do it over 2 drives, but
Oh, so you guys
Yeah,
don't listen
I
to
did.
Rogan?
I did half an hour at lunch, and then I was actually ripping social tickets for 2 hours after work, and I still had never finished it. Because Easton would ask a question, I'd say shit, so I'd rewind it. I just never got through it.
This is 9.
It was a battle, though. I'm not much of a podcast guy.
yeah, like
there we go.
I'm a pretty big golf nerd, and it was even a little bit of a struggle for myself.
Well, the dude, like, he literally just talked for 2.5 hours. Like, they barely even had to ask him questions.
Did he sound a bit like Rory to you guys at times?
I don't know. It's just that accent.
Where is he from? His name's Andy, so I figured he's from England or something.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
he
Drums.
is.
So the number is
What's the number, buddy?
239.
239. Okay. What do we got here? So this lucky person is going to take home 4 free golf passes to Dosa National and a free King Golf gift yet to be determined based on what they want. 239?
Yes, sir.
Brenda Eastman. I think it's actually Brenna Eastman, but she actually had a really impressive story that she created. So she deserves this one, I think. So 239, congrats to Brenna Eastman. Heck of a job. You unfortunately didn't get any bonus points for the job you did on that, but you should have. And universe rewarded Brenna there. So stop share. Congrats.
Describe it to us.
The story?
Yeah.
Well, it was layered. So she had like 2 different pictures on there. She had like a nice gif of a ball going in a hole and just lots going on, and it was impressive. So she deserved it.
Congrats. Salute.
Hopefully she takes the 3 of us. Think she will?
Yeah, she has to. That's the
We've been hyping
stipulation.
her up.
That's up for debate. She probably won't, but it's okay. One
Okay,
of
well,
us will be
Drums,
good. I'll go.
quickly. Everything's good in your life, buddy?
Yeah, we're alive and kicking over here.
Okay. Good stuff. So the Premier Golf League, this was, like I said, was on No Laying Up. If you have any interest in listening to it, it's 2.5 hours long. Tons of info on there. We're just kind of going to go through a few highlights of it, and we're going to maybe have a few of our own discussions. It's basically, the premise of it is like the PGA is clearly struggling without Tiger. There's a few different people who are wanting to move it forward, and the PGA is not really allowing it. So anyways, the intro of it is, it was Andy Gardiner. It's called the Premier Golf League, formed in 2013. It's basically F1 of golf. He kind of refers it to. It's the same structure in terms of teams and sponsors and tournaments and stuff like that. 12 teams of 4, with the 13th team being the foundation team, and the fans actually get to pick the wild cards to play in it if they go that route.
Each week,
Team end.
each week they
yeah,
get to
that's right.
pick, which is pretty cool. And they don't. So, sorry, before we get too far that way.
Yeah.
But it's basically going to be made up by the top 48 in the world golf rankings. And then what I gathered is the 13th team can pick anybody else.
Who's outside of that?
Right.
Yeah.
So the 12 teams to make up the 48, and then anybody else that's available. I think they're going to allow fans to basically vote in who they would like to watch that week, and so that they compete.
Right. And so there's his plan is to do 18 events throughout the year. After 17 events, the individual champion is crowned and the seeding for the playoff is determined. And then the 18th event is obviously the playoff and the finals. And I think that the winner wins 20 million bucks. Now, I don't know if this was the team or the individual who won that.
I think it's 20 million purse per event.
Per event
is what I gathered. Yeah.
Per event. So you're I think you're
first
four
place, 4 mil.
4 mil for the first place. I don't know what like the team, the overall team win is worth. I don't know that he even shared that.
I don't know that either.
I don't
Like the constructors championship.
Right. I don't know what their purse is.
Okay, because I thought that this was for that, and I was like, if he's planning on making 10 billion bucks a year, this seems like a really shitty purse and
Right.
way less than they'd be making on the PGA. So that makes more sense.
Right. And then so the 13th team, the foundation team, I believe what he's wanting to do is set up so whatever the team makes that week, the players choose a charity. Did I hear that one wrong? Did you hear that?
That could be the 13th team thing. I kind of, to be perfectly honest, zoned out about it. That seems just a little clunky and everything. Like you might get a John Scott in the All-Star game kind of thing there if you don't have some.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Because
but I like getting the fans involved and stuff like that. And he's on the right track, and I'm sure he talked for 2.5 hours. I'm sure he's got it covered some way. But
right. But also I went to their website and was reading as well, and women are eligible. So for the 13th team,
the 13th team,
yeah, so that you can vote in women, and they'll compete amongst the men. So I don't know if they're changing.
See, that'd be pretty interesting.
It'd be interesting, yeah. I don't know if they're changing tee blocks where they play, but I don't know what the case is there. But that's something cool.
Could they? I'm not saying they should, but could they? So there's 48. Could they go 36-12? Have 3 guys on each team and 1 girl?
Yeah, they probably could.
Is it?
Then you're also messing with the LPGA though, too, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, he's trying to take on the PGA or deal with the PGA all on its own right now, and that's his major hurdle. I don't think he's going to take on another entity, but
he seems very well spoken though, and like,
yeah, he is awesome.
So are we diving full into this right now?
Yeah, let's do it. I think that we'll just run through a few different things and a few different topics, and we'll just kind of give our own thoughts on it. So I guess let's start with the PGA, because that's as mentioned, that's kind of like the biggest issue. And he started this in 2013. So as a lot of things in life, like the shit takes time, and especially when you're dealing with like the PGAs of the world and like the big swinging dicks, I guess you would say, like it's hard to get traction and get your foot in the door and stuff like that. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think that the PGA has even agreed to set up a meeting with these guys, right?
No.
Okay. So I guess in terms of the PGA, Drums, do you want to maybe talk about like what the PGA's impact on this would be and why they can't just take the players?
So I think, well, what he's trying to do, so he is, I guess he kind of went on the podcast to basically put to bed some kind of rumors that were floating around and just kind of clear the air of what they were about. So like the biggest one was that they were trying to compete with the PGA, where he came out and said, no, we're not. We're trying to work with the PGA and kind of coexist with them. We're not going to interfere with majors. We're not going to interfere with large tournaments. And just like, like there's always those kind of minimal tournaments where the big guys don't go to anyways. So this is the alternative to that. So he's basically wanting to establish a relationship with the PGA where they kind of coincide. And like he said, I think he's correct on this, where if the eyes are on the Premier League, the same eyes are going to go back to the PGA and watch them in the majors and those tournaments where they're going to be playing anyways. It's just going to drive more eyes to them. But basically, like he said, following the F1 model and the Netflix show that we've talked about quite a bit on here the past few episodes, but he's kind of wanting to do the exact same thing where you get a relationship with the players and you follow players, you follow a certain team if you like the look of the team. And then that just coincides with getting all the eyes that league would gain back on the PGA and vice versa. So it's basically a good will gesture that he's really got to offer, where he doesn't have concrete evidence that this is going to work. But at the same time, if you're the PGA, I mean, obviously they won't, but you got to start rolling the dice here. Like, we're the biggest event this year is the PNC Championship because Tiger's back. And like, he's not really playing like, it's not really an event, right?
Yeah, right.
So what are we going to do when Tiger retires, or he can't actually play these tournaments that we're
and that's the main thing
anticipating,
too, right?
the thing, which is kind of crazy. Like it's so insane how everything revolves around one player, but it literally does.
That is
So
the
with
biggest
this,
thing. Sorry, Reg, but
okay.
That's the biggest thing for me is Tiger has been such a huge impact on the sport. I saw something today. The average earnings on the PGA Tour in 1991 were 190,000, and then 2001 when he was out there it was like 400,000, and this year was 1.4 million dollars. Like that's a huge impact on the sport, and that guy isn't coming down the pipeline probably ever again.
No, and like everybody so far that they've thought was the next one, like they're never ever going to be that one.
No, because there's 20 of them coming every year. So golf has to find a way, like golf on television has to find a way to keep its viewership from this, the same way we at golf courses have to maintain all the people that have come in the past couple of years through the pandemic. And getting something good on TV that helps grow the sport and gets people interested has a huge effect all the way through. And this Premier Golf League, I think, is wildly entertaining simply because of how close it would sort of represent F1 if you're looking at it in a nutshell. And think about how popular that's gotten in the last 3 years since that show came out on Netflix. Like, I couldn't be bothered to watch it before, and now I'm kind of hooked on that too. And everything in golf has the ability to do that, and that's what this guy is trying to do. Like, the writing is on the wall. There has been for 10 years with the way things have been going. The PGA Tour's viewership is slowly declining, and I'm right there. I don't really watch it a whole bunch unless there's somebody entertaining to watch, and there isn't that many of them, to be perfectly honest.
Right.
A good field and the Masters and everything, that's awesome, but you got to get people tuning in for more than just the majors. And this is 18 events with 20 million on the line with 48 guys. You're going to get to know their names. You're going to recognize them. There's going to be controversy. There's going to be drama,
rivalries
within the teams. What if Red Bull has a golf team and they pay Brooks and Bryson to be on the same team? What happens then? People are going to watch that shit. Like, it's stuff like that. It's creating storylines and everything and keeping golf interesting. and that's why I'm all in on this. But sorry to say, the PGA Tour is a pretty big roadblock that's going to be tough to overcome for this guy.
Brooks and Bryson also have the shotgun Red Bull before every 9 too. Rigo, your thoughts?
No, like they might have touched on it in that I kind of missed a little bit of it, but like, did they mention how they were going to basically treat the rest of the golf leagues? Like, are they going to be the
PGA?
F? Are they going to be the F2, or is this just start when you get to the top 48?
No, this is the top. Like when they talked about at the end of relegating guys, they said like the bottom 6 or something at the end of the year get relegated to the PGA.
To the
So
PGA,
PGA
okay.
is like the farm team essentially, which
But
is
it's not
pretty
the same
wild.
format.
No, this is team and individual. I think there's no real clear roadmap of what the events would be like, but I think they alternate, which is also really cool. It's not every round isn't just individual stroke play.
And it's 3 rounds, not 4.
Right.
Yeah,
And it
'cause
is 3 rounds.
when's the last time? When's the last time besides the Masters you've actually watched a round of golf on Thursday on TV?
I couldn't be bothered.
Ever. Like,
Yeah.
ever. It's not even Fridays. Like, I don't know. I don't think that there could, after listening to it, I don't think that there could possibly be a better time for F1 to take off, to back this guy. Like, if he's going to get this to go, I think the next 6 months is kind of his window where he has to basically try to get on every podcast he can to get his name out there and get people talking about this, to basically go now.
Yeah, like he does an unbelievable job of actually selling it and getting you hyped up while explaining it very in depth.
Well, he basically presents every problem with the PGA, which is plentiful right now, and how they intend on solving that. And that ranges right throughout the board. But that'll be part of a reason why they don't want to do it, right? Is because, well, this guy's saying we're like, this is our downfall, he's fixing it. Like, we're the second tier. They won't go for that. Right. I agree. But they might not have a choice. And also the other thing too is, like, we should mention that we've talked about the Saudi Arabia is kind of doing the same thing. And I think that there's been a lot of mix up in the media that this is the same group doing it, but it's not. It's totally separate. And you know what? If the PGA, I think that they probably see this coming either way, something like this. And it sounds like the Saudis want to take it completely on their own and like basically take the players, whereas this guy wants to work with the PGA and still have the majors and still have, you know, all the things that go with it. But let's just maybe talk about like how different it would be to watch guys every weekend, or not every weekend, but 18 weekends of the year as teams versus how we watch them now as individual tournaments. And, you know, would we personally watch it more, or would we watch it the same? And what do you think the main benefits of having a team would be? Like a team competition. Drums, you might as well start.
I guess off the hop, I would initially be all in and watch as much as I can. I can't say that like that's going to be consistent and watch every event, but you're definitely going to pay attention and follow it, social media, whatever the case is, and then you just amp up to the playoffs or the last event, I guess, to see kind of where everything falls, or the last two, I guess. That format puts like a big spotlight on two events, the last two events, if you're trying to lock up the individual and then the team events.
Right.
Did they say how it's going to work in terms of picking the teams? Or is it going to be the same as F1, where you can, out of the top 48, you can build a super team?
Yeah. So
I think that they're allocated a certain amount of like a cap or something, and they can spend their whole cap on one guy and then have 3 duds with them or whatever it may be. And there's a bunch of logistics to it, and I don't think that we necessarily need to be involved or get too in deep into that. If people want to listen to that, they can. But I'm just talking like big picture. Like, does this make more sense to us? That's kind of what I think that we should be talking about tonight.
I think it would be more fun to watch simply from the production standpoint of it. Like, he wants to mic guys and caddies up and have that conversation. Whenever you catch a hot mic or they intentionally mic up a caddy golfer conversation, it's pretty interesting. And he said he was talking, like, he's been talking to PGA Tour players, and the guy goes, well, what if I say this? And his answer was, well, just don't say that. Like, pretty simple. Just don't swear, don't call that guy an asshole, like, just don't do it. And I think it would be really funny to see some guys fired up, and like you said, all that drama that has the potential to build. Like, tempers are going to flare. You're going to find out who's mentally strong between the ears and stuff like that. And with the production value and basically what he wants to do with it, if he can do it, it would be a lot more fun to watch. It'd be like watching those, like the matches with Tiger and Phil and Brooks and Bryce and stuff like that, with like every week.
And more competition, likely.
Yeah,
you know?
likely. Like, you're more apt to have competition with 48 guys playing than 2. If one's off that day, you don't have much to go on. You're gonna always have something to go on with this.
Yeah,
I think it would be more fun to watch, and like, it coincides with majors and stuff too. I assume he's including that in his 18 or schedule, 18-week schedule.
Oh, do you think so?
I think so, but like he said, he wants to coincide with the majors and stuff like that and have guys playing it. That's the whole point in having 3 rounds instead of 4. I think it's less golf and more time for these guys to travel if they wanted to go play in other events and stuff like that.
Oh, sorry. I thought
Patty,
you
you're
meant.
thinking.
I thought you
Yeah,
meant.
I think you're saying the same thing as me, Drums.
Yeah, I thought you meant that the majors were going to count for this league.
Yeah, I have no idea how he wants to do that. Like, I think he'd be smart to do that because all of his 48 golfers are going to play in the majors.
What do you do with that extra round though?
There's the same amount of.
And I guess what, like, they're going to have
amount of
cuts.
points and
They're going to have
points
cuts in
and
those
perks.
events.
Yeah. So maybe it's not. Maybe I'm completely wrong on that. Like I said, I just listened to it too, and it was a lot of.
There's so much coming at you.
There is
it's
different
a lot,
laps.
but it's awesome. But I think I need to listen to it 8 times. I don't have a death wish, but and yeah, I don't know. I feel like it'd be so much more fun to watch. And yeah, if the majors aren't part of it, then people are still going to tune into them to watch the guys that they've been watching all year on the PGA Tours broadcast or whatever they're going to do. They're trying to step their game up the PGA Tour, but he does mention in there they do have some limitations, being a not for profit and all that stuff. That was the really dry technical part that he has just off the tip of his tongue. He knows every in and out of that side of the business and what they can and can't do.
Quite wowed by that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like he said, there's basically 226 or something voting members on the PGA Tour. So if he gets 113 of them, or 114, I guess, to vote to have this happen and for them to separate, it's a go. So if he can push the players and get as many on his side as he can and get them to force a vote, and he has the numbers, this is all of a sudden a reality, I think.
And it's kind of funny. Like, he said Rory was the sole reason that this had even happened. He said, if Rory told me to piss off, this sounds like a joke, I would have stopped. But he said, okay, this sounds interesting. So then I carried on. And that was 2000, what did you say, 12 or 13? And since then, Rory's kind of changed his tune as well. So he's got to work on getting him back.
Yeah, he's spoken out kind of against it. Like, I don't know. It's kind of weird because this was the very first one to come about. The Premier Golf League was the first one to come about when these documents got leaked right before COVID hit. And since then, there's been talk of the Saudis doing stuff and everything. And those are all like very aggressive breakaways from the PGA Tour.
Right.
Whereas this guy wants to work with it, which is, like you said, one thing he really wanted to get out there. But if you're the PGA Tour and you have this many entities coming at you saying, we want to take your players, we want to break away, you guys suck, how many of these like very
Bullets
wealthy,
can you
very well-spoken, smart individuals and organizations need to come at you before you look in the mirror and go,
Yeah,
wow,
exactly.
we've dug ourselves into a bit of a hole here, guys. Like, what are we gonna do? And I think they're trying. Like, you see some things that they're rumored to have announced in the new year that are trying to get people more engaged, but I don't know. The traditionalist old boys club isn't gonna change enough,
Yeah,
in
and
my opinion.
I think we said like the writing is on the wall that shit needs to change. I mean, it's becoming more and more evident week in and week out. Like this QB shootout, like who even watched it? Nobody watched it at all. There's so many events that just nobody pays attention to. And going down to an 18 tournament format with this, I mean, it would make every weekend more watchable, and the top 48 would be there every weekend. And I think the thing that was one of the cooler things that he mentioned was that like having it be a team aspect as opposed to the individuals. I mean, there's tournaments on Sundays when you see four golfers in 4 hours. You just see all their shots over and over. Whereas this, like they do in the F1 coverage, if these guys are making a charge to get into 10th place, right, for some points, which affects the overall constructors, that's what this would do. So they'd be able to show these guys and say, if he makes a birdie here, it bumps their team points up on this team. You know what I mean? And
it's
it would.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, it's all happening live too. Like he wants to do shotgun starts.
Right. And
Yeah, I like
betting
that.
and everything. Like he's just got so many good ideas that's just missing from the game right now. Like nobody's gonna I mean, I shouldn't say nobody, but when they start the coverage at 2:00 or say 12:00 and there's 60th place to 40th place golf, why are you even airing that? Like I get why you are, but
Well, and then they turn around and start the coverage at 4:00 and the leaders are down the front nine.
and
They've done
there's
that
commercials,
too.
there's commercials every 2 minutes. Like cut it down and show the full round of I don't know. There's just so much shit that they could do that this guy seems like he's got a lot of it figured out. And he's making it so the PGA can continue as is and isn't going to be overtaken like these Saudi guys are trying to do. So it's almost like the writing's on the wall. Take this guy's offer because he's partnering with you. He's not going to destroy the tour. And he's actually got a hell of a product in mind. Like it, in my opinion, anyways. Like
Yeah, like if you are the PGA, like you said, something's going to happen to you at some point. So try to get in bed with somebody that's going to allow you to get in bed with them, other than just
right,
take all your shit and you're done. You're left with nothing.
right.
So it talked about that too. Like this has happened before. Like
Right.
I didn't know that anything like that, but Jack and Arnie and those
Yeah,
guys,
they
broke
tried to
away
do a
from
coup.
Yep.
They did. They broke away from the PGA of America and basically started what is now the PGA Tour, and then there's PGA Tour Inc., another complicated thing we don't need to talk about. But this breakaway has happened before. They went to the PGA and said, "There's 200 of us that are bailing," and it's happened before. It can happen again. I think the PGA Tour does lose in this situation, but they'll still be able to, function and whatever. I could see why they're resisting it, to be honest, but it's a bet that they've made. And you talk about all the commercials and stuff like that. It's because they have to get those in for their sponsors and stuff like that. They have to have that many commercial breaks. This guy is shortening the broadcast window. He's providing more money on purses. And how's he doing that? Because he knows that the best 48 players in the world are coming there. And he talked to sponsors and said, how about I charge you more, but you know who's showing up every week. You know that it's that, as opposed to, hey, RBC Canadian Open, you gonna sponsor again next year? And oh yeah, last minute, by the way, Brooks isn't coming, Tiger doesn't come anymore, DJ's out, all of that. There goes your whole draw of the field.
And you still paid the same amount.
Yeah. And
Plus,
like
DJ misses the cut too, and he's not there, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing. That Rory shows up and shoots 80, 82, and see you later, and no one watches on the weekend because that was the only guy they wanted to watch. Or Tiger, even like. And this also, in my crazy head and golf nerd head, has an ability for Tiger to still influence the game for a long time. Not necessarily as a player. We don't really know how that's going to pan out. And he's set the bar really low, but like, hey, yeah, Nike has a team, and guess who's the principal of that team? Guess who's setting the guys out every week? Tiger. He has that effect. He would draw people to watch it, even just sitting on the sideline.
100%.
I guess there probably is a, how do I put it? So there's a lot of stipulations, obviously, and we're not going to get into everything, but so if it's the top 48 golfers, I would just like to know how that gets determined year in and year out. Like, are these events going to have more official golf ranking value than the PGA? Like,
they would have to have world ranking points as one of the issues. Another one of the issues that he's trying to figure out. The official world golf rankings is its own kind of thing. They would have to recognize these events to a degree for his league to work and for the players to do it. The players aren't going to play. There's no world ranking points.
Right.
If you're only getting points off of what you play in this league and that's it, you aren't. I just mean the world. You're just considered the best in this league. Well, they're probably not going to do that.
But I mean, like, year in, year out, like, how do you determine who the top 48 is? I mean, is it really going to be the top 48 in the world, or is it going to be who these principals want on their team?
No, it sounded like you can, like, the principals only are going to have a field of the 48 to pick. So each year, I imagine they'll give a window, whether it's January to November. At the end of November, this is who you get to choose from, and then they choose their team. However they decide to do that, I guess, like that. Yeah, that wasn't really clarified in the interview of how it's going to be determined, but I think for the most part it was almost like a salary cap structure where you can spend however you want.
I think one of the coolest things about F1 though is that, like, if you're having a shit year, like, you're out.
Yeah,
you know, and I don't know how they could work that with this.
Well, one thing they could do is they could have top 36, leave one wild card on every team, and they could pick the wild card from anywhere. It could be a lady too, a woman. We discussed that earlier before the show, but women can be a part of this in the foundation. And so why not do a wild card?
I guess, like, the thing against that is with F1, the lower tier teams, like, even their equipment is less than what the higher teams are. So any given day somebody can beat somebody in golf, right? For the most part. So I think it's a little different that way, and there's more parity in the league. Yeah. And just like, you're not going to have like a Haas team that's dragging their ass every year.
So it's tough to.
That's true.
It's tough to get across what, like. So at the beginning of every year, like, how do you determine those top 48 golfers in the world if these guys are only playing these events?
No, they're not.
No, the point is they'd be playing PGA too.
But how many PGA events are they actually playing if they're playing 18 of these?
Only 18. There's 52 events per year in the PGA.
Well, he did say that there were more than one guy came to him and said, well, you know, like, I only plan to play 15, 16 events a year anyways. Yeah. And
probably Tiger.
So his answer was, well, you're actually playing less golf.
With 54 holes.
With the 54.
3, yeah, right.
So you play ours plus the majors or whatever you're doing, your 3 or 4 events on the PGA Tour still.
You could play as much as you want the way you do right now. If there's world ranking points in this in this league, you play kind of as much as you want, and I don't think it would go over real well sitting in the league or anything like that, taking a week off there. But
I know what you're saying though, Rigo, because sorry, go ahead, Patty. Keep going.
No, sorry. I'm just trying to get to, like, what Rigo's trying to say. I think the world ranking system would stay basically the same. It's just different events that you get points from, as opposed to playing the Memorial and Bay Hill and stuff like that. And maybe he has plans to include those. I don't know. Like, instead of Tiger playing Torrey, Bay Hill, Majors, Jack's Place, he would play all these events and the majors or something like that, and you'd still get world ranking points from all that. So the world ranking system would stay the same, and that's how you'd base the 48. There, I think what Drum said there might be a little window, and I like the idea of guys trying to steal players from other teams and paying them more. Like, I love the salary cap aspect of that. I think it just builds what you want there to be, and that's drama and everything. Like, that's what people watch. There's a reason why The Bachelor is still on TV. People love that drama. So the more you can create,
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
the more you can create, the better. And I would love to see somebody just trying to rob some other team, and as long as they all have somewhat of an equal salary cap, I think that'd be good.
Yeah.
You don't want somebody who just with stupid deep pockets to come in there and buy the top four.
Might there be trades?
Right, but
Behind the scenes stuff, who knows?
it's so different than F1, where like the cars are physically better and can go faster, and they're better at a race. Where in golf, like I said before, like it's not like the top four win every single tournament. Yeah, they're more likely to, but there's always going to be ups and downs in that.
What if TaylorMade has a team and they don't let anybody else use the TaylorMade clubs? Something like that.
I guess that, yeah, like there's going to be shit like this that pops up all the time, I think, right?
But like Rigo, I think what you're saying is like, how can you compare the Premier League to PGA versus the Euro Tour, which is kind of what they already do in terms of like, they have a system in place so that you can compare apples to apples in the PGA versus Euro. I'm thinking if you get into this Premier League, these points are probably going to be worth a little bit more than like your average PGA event. I would assume like they would prorate or weight them a little bit heavier because they want the best guys there and they're playing against the best guys. So unless you're relegated, right, from the bottom six.
Yeah.
Are we freezing your drums? Okay. That's okay.
I kind of had a thought actually as you were talking about that. Like, that's kind of how it is right now with the PGA. Like, I was kind of thinking it would be hard for new guys to come into the top 48, but that's the reality of how the PGA already is right now. Like, it's tough for guys to get onto tour.
Yeah.
So
right, and that's also going to be motivation for the guys that are outside of that too, to like get better. Like, I don't want to say like that, it like that, but you want to get to that next level where you're going to be more high profile, more money. All that is what the Premier League is going to equal.
Because we're in reality right now, like if you're outside of the top 10, nobody really gives a shit. You could be 11th or you could be 150th. There's really nothing to compete for unless you're going for first overall. And I get that a lot of endorsements are kind of based on the world golf rankings, I believe they said in there. And that's kind of why players aren't just jumping ship right now, is because they need to keep those world golf rankings in order to maintain their endorsements and stuff like that. So right. Yeah, you're right, Drums.
Like, and I could also see at some point if like these breakaway leagues, they're going to have so much goddamn money that they're going to approach Brooksy or DJ or somebody like this and just say, hey, I'm guaranteeing you $80 million a year. You just come play for me. I don't like whatever happens. However you finish, whatever, you're making 80.
Because what do these guys owe the PGA?
Nothing. Not a thing.
Nothing.
Like, what has the PGA done other than happen to have Tiger Woods fall in their lap?
They can only do so much too with the structure that they put themselves into a little bit, but like, because they can't,
like the PGA.
The PGA can't pay players any extra as far as I know. Like, I think
it's just purse money.
There was something weird there that they aren't allowed to give benefits to their members because they're a not-for-profit or something.
Yeah,
like that.
That's right.
That would make sense.
So they've come up with that, like that 40 million or whatever for that popularity contest, whatever they're calling it, for the top 10 social media presences or something, are splitting $40 million. But I think that's got to be some outside entity doing that or sponsoring that to do it. So there is a limit on what they can do to benefit their members. And sorry, if somebody comes around that can do it better, like,
that's where the eyes are going to go.
It sucks that their hands are tied that way, but they are. So
Yeah.
Because it kind of, their hands are tied, but it's also putting shitty content out there for us. Like that guy that was on that no laying up was complaining about the commercials, and I mean, it's horseshit when you're watching it. Like you watch for like 3 shots and then they go back to commercials, and now they got that playing through, but it's still junk. Like
it's awful, and it's awful, and like, yeah, I don't know.
If they do this, like the PGA does have an opportunity where they can grow their crop. If it, like I said, if the guys outside the 48 are vying to get to that next level, you grow those players, like start them as soon as they get on tour. You start focusing, you start familiarizing the public with these players. It's just going to come back in your pockets at the end. If in 10 years this guy that came onto the tour and the public watched him grow and got to know that player, and in 10 years all of a sudden he's on the Premier Tour, like it just goes back and forth. I think that's what the plan would be anyways.
There's also going to be a bigger crop on the PGA Tour. Like they're still, if they stick with their current format, they're still going to have the top 125 or whatever get their card. So if you're 150th right now, you're kind of hoping this happens because you get on the PGA Tour. They still sell their their purse is the same and stuff like that. If they keep their field size the same, that guy's gonna be loving it. From a player's standpoint, I think everybody benefits from this.
Would they though? Like, wouldn't the 48 maintain like their status? So
they
like,
would, but they're not going to show up to half of those most of those events.
But they don't show up to half of them right now either.
But Trum's like the same thing happens on the Euro Tour. Like there's a format in which that if a certain amount of players from the top tier come, like Cockrell's out, but he has his full card. But as soon as like Rory and all those guys decide to come to those events, then the guys in Cockrell, like he has exemption, but until those guys show up, then they get bumped down. And this kind of goes to touch like on what we've talked about in the past, that there is so many good golfers out there that this will give an extra 48 guys on the PGA Tour a chance to succeed. And maybe it won't be tomorrow, but at least it'll help them with the bigger purses stay above water longer to get noticed, right? Until they get that break where maybe they do get called up to this, what is it called?
Premier
PGT? PGO?
Like what the hell does the PGA have to lose at this point? Like honestly,
Nothing.
I do not see any scenario where they turn themselves around and all of a sudden they're making golf interesting again without Tiger Woods coming back to be 20 years old again.
Right. Like I think they have to do it while Tiger's around.
I agree.
So
and
there's that fallback.
Do you think that Tiger Woods and say Phil, because Phil's been playing in like the Champions League, right? Like, do you think that Tiger and Phil would be more likely to come and be the principal of a team on the Premier League as opposed to going and playing in the Championship? Like, I feel like they'd be more excited about that than going to play at it. No one's watching a Championship or a Champions League tournament ever, are they?
So
Until
just
Tiger.
yeah, like the only one I've ever watched in probably the past, well, what am I, 33 years. I've never watched
With
Champions
Phil?
Tour until Phil was on, right? And he was.
But how much did you watch of it? Like a whole?
Well, like a round, like the final round. But at the same time, I think Phil is pure PGA. I can see Phil being that guy that doesn't budge. But because the Champions Tour is owned by the PGA, right? Like that's part of that. But no, I can for sure see Tiger seeing like how this would grow the game and being a part of that. Like the same way that Gretzky kind of embraced going to LA to grow the game, and then Arizona and coaching. You hit different markets, you hit different everything, even just different eyes coming to the sport. You grow the game. I think he'd be part of that.
You'd have all the legends from like the last 10 Ryder Cups. The captains they'd be probably the principals on the teams. Like how sweet would that be?
Right.
Yeah, you hire a principal like that. Like that's pretty sweet. But so what about this? Like I know he said that it wouldn't survive if it was just in the US, right? Like he said he's going to be moving
he wants
around.
to go global. Yeah.
So like I know that right now, like most of the players would be based in Florida, probably in that area. and I know in F1, like pretty much every driver is based in Monaco. So like,
Yeah.
it's nice to have the pipe dream that these guys are going to want to travel all over the world every weekend. I know it's not every weekend, but it's quite often. Like, where are these guys going to move from the States to be centralized in Europe, or are most of these tournaments going to be in the States?
How sick is Monaco?
Sick. And they
Oh
don't
my
pay taxes
God.
there. If they live there 50% of the year,
So sick.
they
So
don't pay
sick.
tax.
But Florida doesn't have tax either. I was like, no state tax
No,
in Florida.
Hardly.
That what's his name just moved
Nope.
there the other day. George Russell just moved to Monaco.
Awesome.
But why wouldn't they, Rigo? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, would you rather live in Florida or Monaco?
But what I'm saying is like, so
Right, but if you got a family and you got to fly around the world every week, plus whatever you're playing on the PGA Tour, at some point your old lady's going to put a stop to that.
that's
a lot
what
of
I
these
mean.
guys
So
do though, like Rahm does, and Hattonwood, Rory, like they play between the Euro Tour and the PGA.
They do.
Right, like it's
now,
going to be a
if you're
juggling
making-
act.
If you're playing for $4 million a week, buy a couple houses
Yeah.
Exactly.
but I'm saying, like, where's home base going to be?
wherever it
For
is
these
right
guys.
now. Probably like they kind of do it right now. This would probably be more so. Like he wants to be worldwide, but he did say in there the majority of the events would be in the United States.
Oh
I think
yeah,
it was like 70%.
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
'Cause I was just thinking,
Yeah.
like if they were in, say, they're based on, let's just use Monaco for an example. If lots of these PGA players move there, are they really going to be all that inclined from playing with 20 million purses with the 48 top players in the world? If they have an off week, are they really going to want to fly back to the States and play in, like Missouri or
not.
somewhere like that? Like, I don't know. Like, will this actually
It would
boost
hurt the PGA.
the
Is that
Euro
what you
Tour?
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll hurt the PGA without a doubt. Like there's no way around it because there's no scenario where it doesn't hurt the. And you're right, it could help the Euro Tour.
Like I don't think the nominal value of what they're playing for really does anything for viewership either. He kind of touched on that, or maybe Solly
Like the
on
purse?
podcast touched on that. Like the PGA Tour's answer lately seems to be
FedEx.
throw more money in there. I could care less.
Yeah, me too.
Like I'm not gonna watch it knowing that guy's playing for $5 million more.
Right.
The Tour Championship is interesting when you go, oh shit, like that guy moves up 2 spots and that's a 6-figure difference to him or whatever, but I'm not watching it because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I
And in
agree.
that sense, what did that 40 million really do? Like, yeah, I got maybe a few guys posting more on social media, but I don't know if that brought more eyes to watching the game.
I haven't noticed a thing from that.
Yeah.
I noticed a lot of stuff online, like Brooks and Bryce and that whole thing.
Yeah, that bullshit.
You-
But did
you
that
can't
get
tell me
more
that
people
didn't.
watching it?
That was bullshit. It was all
Jim
manufactured,
Herman?
I think.
It developed the match with both of them playing in it, and that equated to $3 million for charity or whatever. So it had some good benefit, but as far as viewership and stuff goes, I don't really think so. Brooks and Bryson
No, I agree.
were tied a couple times in tournaments, and they didn't pair them together.
Right.
Like they avoided that like drama and that conflict the whole way. They've had chances to nurture that and do that kind of stuff.
Well,
And they've shied away from it completely.
because I think it was all bullshit. Anyways, like their beef to begin with, I don't think it was like a genuine beef. Maybe there was a bit, but the way
Well,
it was blown up. Like it was
Manufactured
purely
for
for that.
sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
if you look at the F1 and the rivalries in it, like Max wants to murder everybody, literally just go and slit throats.
Yeah, none of that seemed fake to me.
Max?
None of the F1 stuff seemed like real produced to me.
No, well, because I don't think it is.
He pulled himself out of that show next year.
Max did?
That's gonna be tough to
Oh,
film. Yeah, he said he won't be shown on it because they did make him out to be the bad guy. In
yeah.
the show, but
When I first started watching it, that's what you said to me too. And then by the end of it, I was more of a Max fan.
Yeah.
Me too. PGA is so
like-
junk though,
like
man.
him.
Like what they the ROM stuff that we talked about last week at the Masters, where he had his spaz attack. Like that's what I'm here to watch. Why are you cutting that out? Who's hurt? Whose feelings are we hurting here? Like, what are we doing? That's what I want to see. I don't care about guys getting up and down. I want to see guys smashing clubs. And when Tiger used to slam the markers and drop F-bombs, like that's the shit that I'm here for. Why are they cutting that out? Like, that's why I liked F1, is because the documentary did a really good job of keeping things like very real. Like with what was it? What's Daniel Ricardo? Like he walks by and says "fuck off" Netflix and stuff like that. Like I just like that stuff. Like that's people being people, right? Like
yeah, you're not a robot. Like everybody in the PGA,
no.
Every time there's an interview, it's the same shit, and then the next guy says the exact same stuff. Like, so all that shit is pointless then. Just have one interview for one guy, because they're all going to say the same thing.
So they probably don't want to show guys slamming clubs and stuff like that. It's not a great example to set and everything for kids.
But
like
coming
that's
from the head pro.
I know.
Hear me out. They're not wanting to show that, and that's why. But I'm pretty sure this guy touched on this with Premier, and he said there's like a subscription. It's like an all access pass. So there's a separate kind of channel for that, or there's a separate way to view it for that, and it's all streamed and everything.
And a betting channel, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and that with gambling coming in, it changes things a lot too. That's a whole other ball of wax. But there's stuff like that. You can view that if you want to. If you want to watch the PG version, watch the 30-second delay.
Yeah,
Right.
I will pay for that for sure.
If there's one thing that anybody's learned is that I know it's bad money management and bad whatever, but like people pay for that privilege, right? Like, I don't know.
And
like
less
that
ads too. That's a huge thing as well.
Definitely.
Okay, well let's I don't know how long we've been going. What are we at here, Drums? Like we're
hour 20.
Oh, we're gonna go over 2 hours like that.
Yeah. Okay, well let's just maybe all give our closing thoughts on it and what we think about it. I'll start because so you guys can think about it for a second. But like for me, my favorite event, and this is also on there as well, but my favorite event for the whole year for sure is the President's Cup or the Ryder Cup. And because it's team stuff, I just find that guys play under different amounts of pressure when you're playing for somebody else rather than just yourself. And that adds a whole nother element to it. And also for me personally, I've had a hard time finding somebody to cheer for in golf outside of Tiger Woods. Other than that, I like guys and stuff, but I don't have like one guy that I love to watch or that I cheer for outside of Tiger. But if I had a team or something like that, I think that I could rally behind that a lot more. And in terms of, comparing it to F1 and stuff, for me, I think it's hard to really compare because I'm watching F1 for speed, for crashes, as much as people don't like to admit that. Like that's part of it. That's a thrill of it. And even the after tournament stuff, like the winners, like look at a PGA ceremony trophy presentation. Like you fall asleep or change the channel. Whereas F1, they're spraying champagne at each other and spraying the crowd and stuff like that. Like let's focus on having some fun here and switching stuff up. And PGA has relied on Tiger for the last 20 years, and I think it's time to let go of the reins a little bit because the world has changed quite a bit and it's changing every day. And I just think that it's how can I put this? They owe it to golf to let it go and to let it grow.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, to kind of piggyback off you, the PGA has ran the same way forever. Now, certainly there's going to be junior golfers that are still coming up at this point, but what can you gain? Who could you gain by attracting new audiences and new players from just what they're watching? Like if the way that F1 got us into watching racing, this gives the opportunity for people to do that with golf and just bring more eyes and then bring more people into it. And then who knows what happens from there. The NHL going to Arizona resulted in Austin Matthews coming into the league 20 years later. Shit like that's going to happen.
Yep.
I think that's going to be a big part that an end result, but it's not a clear result in probably the PGA's eyes that they're going to see something definitive very quickly. I think that's going to be his biggest hurdle obviously it is I don't know how he's going to convince the PGA to get on board. I don't know if they get a kickback of money. I don't know what the situation is going to be. I can't see him getting around it. As much as I want this to happen, I don't know how he's going to get authorization or whatever he needs from the PGA to allow it to happen. Now, he can certainly do the break off league thing, because I think you can actually get people away from the PGA more that way.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that the majors are involved with the PGA, right? Like they're kind of their own entities. USGA is the US Open, the British,
Masters,
that type of thing. So I think those are kind of what everybody focuses on anyways. I think they're kind of off separate. But yeah, I'll 100% be on board. I would be paying the subscription fees to be watching the behind the scenes stuff, all that stuff. Where if the PGA already had that in place for us right now, we wouldn't be seeking it out. They've relied on Tiger for far too long. Not saying that was not the play, but at some point you had to have a backup plan and a retirement plan for him. And this might be it. Again, if they can get in some involvement where the PGA is part of it, I think that's the only way it's going to fly. Otherwise, I don't see it legitimately happening the way that he's put out on the podcast anyways.
Don't you think that somebody like Tiger could sway the PGA to do it?
For sure. If Tiger defected,
or
that would happen.
Even having like podcasts like No Laying Up, I think that's going to go a long way in terms of getting people talking about it. And, if they get the consensus in the PGA to change it, that's all it takes, really.
Right.
Like,
and that's what I'm saying
if you have drums every weekend tweeting PGA sucks, where's the Premier League? Players are going to see that. And it's before long, like things can only go shitty for so long in this day and age, I think.
Well, and then it's going to start affecting money because sponsorship money is going to be less because they're not gaining anything out of it. So then guys are going to start looking for the money, and that takes them elsewhere where you're not involved at all. So if the PGA can get on board with this and still maintain some kind of like, maybe they do have a bit of control of what tournaments or what dates they can run stuff, then
compromise.
Yeah, for sure.
Daddy, what do you got, buddy?
Yeah, like I think we've covered quite a bit of it, but like at the end of the day, do I think it'll happen? Probably not. Do I hope it happens? Absolutely. It might be more realistic than you think, just given the fact that I think with the PGA Tour structure, it might just come down to a player vote. If they can sway enough players to go in that direction, the PGA Tour has to come back with a pretty good rebuttal, because from everything I'm seeing, just on the outside looking in, I have no idea what might be going on behind the scenes. There's probably a lot more than you or I know. But from a player's standpoint, this is a no-brainer. If you're the top 48 in the world, he needs another 50 or so to do that. But if 48 guys leave the PGA Tour fields for a good chunk of the year, those guys underneath them stand a hell of a lot better chance of making a lot more money. So I think it can be done. I really hope it is done. There's just a pile of logistics that this guy has to go through, and he's on top of all of them. He's got an answer for everything. It just doesn't mean that it's gonna, just because you have a good answer coming out of your mouth doesn't mean that it's actually gonna come to fruition. But really hope it does. It would be a lot of fun to watch, and like we said a bunch of times, it would be good for the game, and it'd be a good post Tiger era spin on golf.
Yeah. I got two kind of thoughts. Right now, like I said before, with I guess the popularity of F1 right now playing into their hands, and also like Patty's mentioned, I mean, since 2019 in Manitoba, which is, I mean, a part of the golf world, but I mean, there's a lot bigger markets down in the States that have probably seen larger increases in people entering the game just during all of this. I think that right now that the window's there.
We had about a 17% increase in Manitoba. I think Golf Canada came out with this, and that was amongst the smallest increases of our provinces. So the huge thing that we're seeing here is bigger everywhere else.
Right. So what I'm saying is that right now, for the game to be growing so much right now, and for people to still be that unhappy with the PGA product that they haven't really kept up with the way things are going right now, I think is a huge opportunity for this. And I honestly think it's sink or swim for them right now, that they either have to hop on board with this guy or they're just going to get buried like very soon, because they're not keeping up with the trends right now. Everything's trending majorly in golf right now, and they are going back. They are going backwards, I would say, right now. I guess, and the other thing that I was thinking as you guys were talking is that we kind of let on that the PGA would have the same purses as they have right now. Likely not true. If all these players go up to this league, PGA will probably lose out on some key sponsorship, also viewership every week, which would translate in less money. So they probably wouldn't be able to pay as big a purses. I don't know. So that kind of,
I think there'd be a bit of a juggling act where, okay, you get
the John Deere Classic.
Yeah, it's lesser money to sponsor this event, but it's more money when the guys are back.
Right.
So just to even it out type thing.
Like there's probably 18 times a year at least that 4 golf fans sitting in this chat right now don't watch golf. So I would say if we're not watching it, there's probably not a whole lot of other people that are watching it. So are they really missing out on a whole bunch of like viewership?
True.
I don't know.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
So very interesting stuff. If you're a golf nerd like we are, it is a long listen to. I suggest splitting up into a couple sections. We do have a couple more things quickly before we get off here to talk about. When Patty sent us this link, we actually started talking about a few different ideas, and something that we've had in the works for a little while now is a King Golf version of this, I guess you would say. And Patty has something else as well. But what we want to do for next summer, and this might be a little ambitious, I'm not too sure, but we want to do the same kind of thing in Manitoba. So we want to have about 10 to 20 teams. We have some logistics to iron out for sure. We want to do 5 or 6 courses, same style. So you'd have 2-man scramble, and you'd have 4 to 6 guys in your team, and you kind of rotate. It seems like a lot of golf for like, the Regan Headleys of the world, say 6 times a year. But I mean, if you have 4 or 6 guys on your team, then they can kind of alternate and stuff. So every team would have their own sponsors. So McDonald's might have their own team, or King Golf might have their own team, and you'd play at these different tournaments and have a 2-man scramble. And there's some things to be worked out still. But I guess if you're listening to this, you're going to be the first to know about it and hear about it. And that's kind of what we've been trying to do on this podcast, is give the listeners kind of first crack at things. So if this sounds like something that you're interested in, talk to your boss, Westover Credit Union or something along those lines, and see if they'd be interested in buying a team and participating in this King Circuit, I guess you'd call it. And it'd mirror F1 and this Premier League as well. So we think that there's a huge opportunity for lots of good golf in Manitoba, and especially in this area. And instead of going the Golf Manitoba route of individual scores, we want to do 2-man scramble. We think that there's a lot more, it's a lot more enjoyable that way. And there's more people that would get involved in it. So that's that. Message us if you're interested, want to put in a team in or have any ideas for it or want to be involved at all. And Patty, I know you have some sort of interclub thing. If you want to mention that quickly, I know you reached out to the golf courses and stuff, but maybe just walk us through what your idea is on that.
Yeah, like a lot like what you're talking about, but it's just between the golf clubs, like an interclub league, I guess you would call it. It was a thing back in the day, and I don't know why it kind of went by the wayside. Guys are just got busy and that same old excuse, but now seems like a pretty good time to revive it. So I'm starting that up. It would be similar to like Monday Putter and Prairie Putter that's in Winnipeg and in the central Manitoba area. If anybody's familiar with that, basically each course would send 4 guys to another course, 8-week schedule. So you'd have 4 home games, 4 away games. You can roster up to 12 guys, but you're only sending 4 every week, just basically because people work and people are busy, life's busy. So you got a pool of 12, you're more likely to get 4. Yeah, it would be 2-person 4-ball, so a better score. You're playing your own ball the whole way around. Point for the front, point for the back, point for overall. So you've got 6 points up for grabs each week, and then we'd have a year-end tournament with the top 4. The attraction to it is the golf clubs are the ones putting up the money for the pot. And the flexibility of it is great from that standpoint. You can come up with that money however you want. If you want to get a sponsor to cover that, great. If the club wants to eat that and write it off, great. If you want to charge your players to play, that's great. However you want to do it, the point is to get some cash out there. The clubs are the ones that are going to benefit at the end, but I don't think many clubs are just going to pocket that winnings from their team. They're probably going to treat the guys on the team pretty well. So it's just something to get some guys out playing other golf courses, showcasing your own course. It's something that was around for a long time that I want to bring back and am bringing back next year. We've got a pretty good response from a lot of the clubs. So something similar, but I think the more the merrier.
When you get all the details that are known about that, it'd be good to have you back on here, because I'd like to have a chat with you about your trip out to the East Coast too, and we never really got a chance to do that tonight.
Yeah,
so
true.
We should have you on before the winter's over, once you come up with some more firm details, I guess, in regards to which course you're in and whatnot, and then we can catch up with you again.
I did for sure. I've got a ton of details done, but I blabbed on enough tonight, I think, for you guys.
Okay, I got one last one I want to throw by you. I came across what is Eric Anders Scratch Golf?
Yep.
Video yesterday. So he was going and playing in Germany. Gonna spotlight some German courses. But once he got there, he found out that he needed a license to golf. So with this, basically he had to go with the pro. He had to hit like some chip shots, some bunker shots, some fairway shots, some drives, some approach shots, some putting. He had to basically legitimately show that this pro, that he could handle himself on a golf course to be allowed to golf.
No way.
Yeah. But like Germany doesn't take, like they got into this whole thing. It's actually a really good video. You should go check it out. But they said like Germany doesn't take this as like a slight against somebody that can't perform up to what their capabilities are. It's they don't want to go out and embarrass themselves on a golf course. So they make sure that they're good enough beforehand before they even go attempt to get their license to go play on a golf course. So driving ranges, and I think they said there was maybe 3 courses in the entire country that would allow you to golf without a license. But other than that, you have to get a license. Could you ever implement this in Minnedosa?
No. No, like I watched that too. I actually had a guy work for me this year that coached hockey over in Germany, and he was talking about that. So I dug into it deeper before I saw that video, and I thought it was pretty crazy. I do kind of like what they're doing, and the intention this year was to do it, and I will do it next year, is doing beginner golf days and stuff like that. So come out and I'll just sit on the range for a few hours, then you can go play whatever afterwards. It's somewhat like that. Hey, you want to come golf but don't want to embarrass yourself, here's 2 or 3 tips to help you out and be on your way. But
Chubbs Peterson.
not
Sitting there with a newspaper.
Yeah, it's all in the hips. That's very nice.
Chubb's Law.
No, there's not a chance in hell. Like I come from a public golf course where we're dragging people out there, as many people as you possibly can. They said most of the courses in Germany are private and stuff. Like, yeah, that's just not ideal for our business model whatsoever.
Yeah, kind of my first reaction was like, what? But then once they like explained and like that's just the German culture, I was like I kind of respect that too. Like you don't want to go out and embarrass yourself or make a fool of yourself. I kind of liked it, but I would never ever fly over here.
It'd be good though for pace of play and stuff.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say there are good aspects to it, but go ahead.
I was just gonna say, get down that rabbit hole of Scratch Golf's videos and that Adventures in Golf that he does. There's some unbelievable stuff on there.
Okay, but that's kind of what we missed that. I know we've been on here for a while too, but like, think about how interesting that would be, because that's one thing that really got me intrigued with F1 is like showing all the different demographics geographics, of the different countries that I'd never heard of before. And I think that the PGA or the Premier League would have a huge opportunity to, tell a story of where they're playing and the courses they're playing instead of, North Carolina or South Carolina every week in the same courses over and over again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
hey, Patty, would you prefer Chubb's Law or Patty Peterson?
I like Patty Peterson. I like both, actually. I have a hard time with that too.
Yeah, Chubbs is a pretty iconic first name. I think I'd go there.
Okay, so basically what we figured out tonight was golf's growing at an exponential rate, and some things do need to change, and it's in professional golf. And even as us as amateur golfers, we kind of get tired of playing the same scramble piss up tournaments every weekend throughout the summer, and introducing things in Manitoba such as the Interclub and maybe the King Golf Circuit, and just shake things up a little, because it is such a unique time in golf where it's growing so fast, and why not shake shit up a little bit? But thanks for coming on, Patty. We really appreciate it. And I think this is your third time on, right?
It is. Take that, Pulak.
Well, if he would get healthy and score, he'd be on here every day, but that's not happening apparently. All right, boys. Well, let's get the hell out of here. This one's a long one, so we'll put her to bed. All right. Love you. Peace. Later.
Love you, boys.
Hey, boys.